Good evening, everyone. And we want to thank you. I'm Sally Rinker on behalf of the VTA. We are sponsoring this forum tonight. And we thank you very much for coming out, especially given the weather tonight. We'd like to start this evening with a Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this evening, we are fortunate to be joined and assisted by the League of Women Voters who are moderating this forum this evening. And we're very happy to have the members here from the Women's Voters of Sussex Highlands to help facilitate this event. Please welcome Litsa Binder, President. Timekeepers Louise Bagby, who is also Vice President. And Susan Perante, Director of Voter Services. Our moderator tonight is Tony Zimmer from Sparta. Tony serves as Secretary on the National Board of the League of Women Voters of the United States. She is the former New Jersey State President of the League of Women Voters of New Jersey and has been moderating debates for many years throughout New Jersey. Thank you for being here, Tony. Okay. And with that, we will begin.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, especially on a rainy night like this. But it's so good to see all of you here. And I'd like to thank the candidates for coming out as well. It means a lot to have you come out and let the people see you, let the people know what you have planned for them and how you want to serve. Thank you so much for being here. So tonight, we're going to have a candidates forum for the office of mayor. And there were 3 candidates on the ballot for mayor. And 2 of the candidates are here this evening, Howard Burrell and Dan Story.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me. The 3rd candidate, Jean Murphy, has declined to participate this evening. And on the council candidate side, we have Margaret DeStassi and Scott Geisels. All right, and Kelly Weller has... Well, she actually did not respond to my formal invitation to attend, so she's not here this evening. And Mayor Harry Shortway did respond that he was not going to participate in the forum this evening, so he is not here. Now, I want to explain something to all of you. The 2 mayoral candidates will be participating in the question and answer, the question and answer portion of this forum, where they will receive questions from the audience and they will answer those questions. Unfortunately, the council candidates who are here will not be able to participate in the question and answer portion of the forum because there is no contest. There are 2 seats and on 2 candidates here. The League of Women Voters rules requires a contest. So there would have to be at least 1 more council candidate sitting up here for us to be able to have a forum with them. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to begin the way we always do with a forum. We're going to have an opening statement by each of the mayoral candidates and opening statements by each of these 2 council candidates. But that's all that we can do for them, even though they're here. And then we will proceed with the question and answer portion of the forum for the mayoral candidates. So the opening statements for each person will be 2 minutes long, and they'll be timed. We have our timekeepers down there at the table with a stopwatch, and they'll let the candidates know, if you can show them. They'll raise up a sign to let them know when 30 seconds remain, and then 15 seconds, so that we can keep track, and then stop. When the stop sign comes up, I hope you'll stop. If you don't stop, then I'll say, stop. So that's how that works. Then we'll have the question and answer period, which each candidate will receive the same question, and they will have 1 minute to answer each question. There is no rebuttal in this debate, so it's pretty much just each person answering, talking about what they think about a topic, and so on. And then at the end of the question and answer period, we will have the closing statements, which will again be 2 minutes per candidate. So we'll have the mayoral candidates go ahead and give their 2-minute statements, and then we'll have the council candidates give their 2-minute closing statements, and that will be the end of the event. Now, there are cards out there and pens and paper. So if anybody in the audience wants to submit a question, just raise your hand, and we'll have Lisa will look and see if anybody wants to hand something in, and she'll go to you and pick up your question. And that's how we'll do that. And then they'll bring the questions up to me. And I have the questions here so far. We have quite a few, and they look really interesting. We also have 3 questions from the Vernon Tax Association that I'll ask during the evening as well. And you'll know that it's from them because I will preface it that way. With that being said, I'd like to ask that everybody make sure that your cell phones are silenced. And we will begin. Before the event, we chose by lot who would start first with the opening statements and so on. And so this evening we're going to start with Howard Burrell with his opening statement. Howard?
Don't start me yet. Can you hear me? From my, okay, please now. I want to say first, good evening. And first, I want to thank the Vernon Taxpayers Association for sponsoring this forum, and the League of Women Voters for the credibility and their long history of quality and nonpartisanship that they bring to this forum. And finally, I want to thank both groups for giving me the opportunity to earn your vote of confidence to be your next mayor. Some of you know me, others don't. However, I won't spend time talking about my background because I need to comply with the rules and finish in 2 minutes here. But I want to share with you why I chose to enter this race and 5 of the key issues that I believe are critical to this particular race. I chose to enter this race for mayor because our town is now at a crossroads in its history. And the direction that we go from this crossroads is going to determine whether or not we continue to decline as a town or whether or not we take our place as the largest municipality in Sussex County. That's a place where people want to live and raise their families and where businesses want to locate and prosper. During the last 10 years, our town, in fact, has lost approximately 1,400 residents. That's about 6% of our population. Over those years, we've actually lost more citizens than any other municipality other than Camden. We really need a new attitude on the part of our town's government. It's time that we in Vernon stop sitting back and simply allowing and accepting things to happen to us and then complaining about it. And it's time that we took control of things and make things happen for us as opposed to us. My experience in playing a role in the planning and organizing, directing, coordinating, and controlling of many organizations tell me that no matter how much I analyze this town government from its outside, that if I'm fortunate enough to be able to be your mayor, I will find things that are unknown and unknowable to me. Boy, I got to go quick. Let me just hit five issues that are key here. Number one is the need for us to change the current perception of our town. Number 2 is the need for an aggressive and positive economic development policy, and she told me right now to stop. I hope I get a chance to expound on those things as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. Okay. If we could hold the applause until the end, I'd appreciate it. Okay, Dan?
Can you hear me? Dan Story. I'm a 45-year resident of Vernon, and I've lived here my whole life. And the reason why I'm running for office, there's many reasons. I love this town. I love where I am. And I think we got great potential to grow. But we are stagnant, and we've been stagnant for a while. But we're getting there with certain things that I feel we're heading in the right direction. Business is important to lowering the taxes. We need business ratables, and we have to work with people that want to do business with Vernon the best way we can. That's how we're going to maintain the tax base. Right now, we got nothing, and we're solid. We're just stagnant, and we're trying to get things in like our trails and like saving the ski area and everything else. And it's important that they thrive, because if they don't, we don't. And then we become a stagnant town, which I don't want. The problem being is I worked in the sheriff's office. I seized a lot of homes in this town. Part of my job was to take homes and property. Vernon was our busiest area in the agency when I worked there. We were busy. Nobody wanted to see me. And it was a tough job. And we want to turn that around. And we have to turn it around, not just with government, but from the people also. It takes two, not just government. People and government together have to work together. And I want to be able to do that. I want the dialogue to be open. I don't want people fighting anymore. I want us to agree to disagree, which is important. We have to agree to disagree on issues in order to get done. So I'm looking for, to do that. I'm looking forward to that. And we have so much to give, so much to offer in this town. We live in a great place, and I want to keep it going. And thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'd like to hear an opening statement from Scott on the council side.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Scott Geisel.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. That would help, I guess. Hi, good evening. My name is Scott Geisels. It's pronounced Geisels, whatever you want to say. So I'm from the Berry Lakes section of town. Wife and I had moved there. I became trustee of the Lake Community Property Owners Association years ago, then became president. Now my fourth term is president of Berry Lakes. And in that role, I work diligently within the community. I also am a regular attendee of Vernon Township Council meetings and other association meetings that I attend, and I take that information back and share it with my community and work with the community on things. But in the course of me going to the Vernon Township Council meetings all these years, I've just seen a lot of, I don't want to say bickering, a lot of things not getting done, and I really feel that people just need to take the best ideas from both sides and move forward to get things done to better the town and help out. I also have a vision also too for Vernon in a way to help business. If we can help business prosper, that of course is going to bring in more ratables in town, hopefully reduce taxes in our town. Taxes have been gone up quite a bit, and I don't like taxes. I'd like to see a way to be able to stabilize taxes, if not reduce them. So with that, thank you. I hope I get your vote.
Thank you. Margaret?
Thank you. I'm Margaret Peg DeStassi. I've lived in Vernon for 33 years, raised my family here, and I'm proud to call Vernon our hometown. The reason that I'm running is that I have noticed a decline in the pride in town. Just recently, I was with my grandson at a football game, and he was talking to some of his friends, and he said, "You know, my Nana's a council." And they looked at him and they said, "A council? Really? Wow, that's awesome." They had no idea what a council is. They had no idea what they were talking about, but they were proud. And I thought to myself, that's what I want. I want my grandson to be able to say, "I'm from Vernon, New Jersey, and I'm proud of it." That's what's been missing in this town for at least 15 years that I can think of. I am dedicated to bringing that spirit back in town. I want to work with the community. I want to work with the businesses. I want Vernon to be known as a business-friendly town again, not the negative that's been going on. I want to be able to go to a council meeting and ask a question and get an honest answer, not we don't discuss things from the floor. I want the no's to go away. I want to be able to go to the town hall and be respected and be treated as a resident of this town. I also have a very positive dream of how we can control the environmental impact that has happened in this town. As most of you know, I spent the last 11 years fighting the environmental terrorism that took place on Silver Spruce. And yesterday we finally got our decision. I am not done. I will follow through to be sure that that is remediated and removed from our town. Thank you. I hope you will vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll begin the question and answer period between the mayoral candidates. And this question will start with Howard. What is your position on the further development of additional businesses in the town center and along Route 94 towards McAfee? Will you support water development in the town center area to accomplish this?
I absolutely will. As mayor, I'll work with the Economic Development Partnership really to ensure that we have an aggressive and a positive effort. We absolutely need to do something about developing our town. We need to be able to bring ratables in that'll not only help the taxpayers, the homeowners with the taxes, but that'll also provide services and conveniences. I don't really understand this whole thing of dry sewers. We really need to look at that and to expand it. So the question was, would I be in favor of that? I most certainly will. That's one of the things that I plan to tackle.
Okay, thank you. Dan? And if you need me to repeat the question, just say so, and I can do that.
I'm good. Yeah, readables are important. I am in favor of expanding on that. It's been too long. We have a road to nowhere since I lived here. We made this road, and that's all we got. We need to start sitting at the table and getting investors in and working this out. I'm all for it. It's the only way we're going to maintain our tax base. If we don't welcome in businesses, we're going to fail. We have to do this, and we have to make sure that we get these ratables in. Let people want to do business in Vernon like we used to. And once we get that, we're going to win. The sewers is a problem. We got to look into that. You know, I don't know what happened with that and why we're in that debacle. We're in the debacle because of it. And that's why nothing's moved. So we really need to sit down and get these businesses and these investors in here and make a difference and get the water and make it happen. Everybody else is doing it. Why aren't we? So that's the way I'm looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dan, this is from the Vernon Tax Association, and it's regarding transparency. Transparency in Vernon government has greatly diminished over recent years. For example, not holding public workshops on important issues, failing to include detailed information in legislation to be voted on, and not discussing and voting on expenditures at public meetings. The minutes of our committees, commissions, and boards are unavailable or non-existent. Public speaking at council meetings has been compromised and consequently thwarted. What specifically will you do to restore transparency in Vernon government?
Well, first of all, we need to be transparent in our government. It's our government. It's the people's government. We need to know what's going on. I want to know where the money's going, just like you want to know where the money's going. I'm a little surprised why our taxes went up and so forth. Yes, transparency is a must. Even an audit, I would love to do to see where all the money goes. And I think we all should have our hands into that. It's the people's money. We need to know what's going on. And I've been living here again all my life. I don't know where half the money's going. Why did we even have a fight over those fields? It should have never been. That money should have been left alone. You have to be transparent to the public. And if the public knows that you're transparent with everything, they'll trust their government. And that's what happens. And that's what we got to do. Transparency is the key. And we need to be that way. And we need to change some things. So people don't have to feel afraid to come to town hall and speak their mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard? Transparency.
It's obvious that every government should be transparent. As I talk about the image of our town as not a place, and this is perception, it's not an accurate one, of a place where people don't want to live and raise their families, or businesses don't want to locate and feel they can prosper. I think a lot of it is because of the attitude that has come from our town government. It's good to hear that everyone recognizes that negativity. And as it relates to being transparent and open, we absolutely should be under all circumstances. I don't know why we would not be. As mayor, I'll make sure that all the information that's available to us that can be made available to the people is made available to the people. I don't know why anybody would be against transparency.
Okay, thank you. All right, here's a question on environmental impact. Howard, how will you address environmental impact issues that the town may face with the impending plans for large events on the former Camp Sussex property?
First of all, we've got an environmental committee. We ought to have them to actually make that study. You know, any organization that comes to our town that applies to do something in our town, they should be made to abide by the rules. And I'm not trying to say that anyone should look the other way, but we should also be open to organizations that come here and to see what they really can do. We should look at it. I want to make sure that our town is not only an environmentally beautiful town, but an environmentally safe town. And I will join with Peg to ensure that that area over on Silver Spruce Drive, that issue is not settled simply because of what the judge says. I won't rest until that is actually moved, until that is actually properly disposed of. And any other environmental situation that comes before the town. No one wants to move into a town that's an environmental disaster. When we're talking about taxes and other kinds of things, all of those things relate to our taxes. Who wants to move into a town where there's an environmental problem? Thank you.
Thank you. Dan?
Same thing. We can't just, at the same breath as we want business to come in, they have to follow the rules. We can't just have people come in and do whatever they want. That's a no-no. At the same time, I want to welcome these people in here. Regarding Camp Sussex, I will tell you this, as a former law enforcement officer, the way it sat for years was a disaster in itself. And the stuff that we found in there and the paraphernalia we found in there and stuff like that. You want to talk about toxic. It was toxic, just sitting there. And it was welcoming a bad element. And when I would be on patrol, I would see things, and I'd see a light on, and people living in those houses. So, yeah, no one's above the law. We got to make sure that we don't, let these people just come in and do whatever they want. But at the same breath, we really got to sit down and work with them. And it's important to see something come back and be a tax rateable. But at the same time, they got to follow the rules. We are the Highlands. We're a green place. We got to keep it that way.
Okay. Dan, this question is regarding Sussex County in general and as a mayoral candidate. Since Vernon is the largest town in Sussex County, this person is curious as to how the mayoral candidates feel about the ballot question regarding the sheriffs communicating with ICE about releasing criminal illegal aliens. Do you support the sheriff?
I support the sheriff 110%. And that's what I'm going to say. These people, coming into our country illegally, they have to do it right. And I support the sheriff wholeheartedly on that. Our attorney general is not working with our local law enforcement, and it's a disaster. And if it continues, we're going to have a problem. You're putting bad guys away, and they're telling you don't take them in. Never heard of such a thing. 30 years as a cop, and you're telling me now I can't make an arrest. You got to let this guy go. Now, ICE comes in. If they're here illegally, they should be dealt with accordingly. You want to come here legally, do the right thing. But yes, I'm in full support of the sheriff.
Howard, do you support the sheriff?
I support the sheriff. Yes, I do.
Howard, do you support the sheriff?
I support the rules. That's what
We
really
can't hear you.
I support the rules, whatever they are. The whole issue of illegal aliens and sanctuary cities, that's not something the mayor has to deal with. And I don't really want us to get involved in that. I really think that we've got enough on our plate here, right here in Vernon Township. We've got enough on our plate. We've lost 1,400 citizens. We've got situations where organizations have said that Vernon is not a good place to locate a business. We've got this environmental disaster over on Silver Spruce. We've got our hands full. That's what I want to focus on. So whatever the laws are, we should obey them. And I don't want to get involved in saying whether or not I support the sheriff or not support the sheriff. That's not really my position.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask Howard, if you could speak to your ability to work with county and state elected officials and whether this is important to the township.
I most certainly think it is important to the township. I've served at the local level on the council here. I've served as a freeholder. I've served as an assistant director in the state of New Jersey for years of both under Republican and Democratic administrations. And I think it's good to have relationships with everybody. And I most certainly wouldn't hesitate to do that. All of the boards and committees that I've served on, in most cases, I've been the only one of my particular party. I've been able to successfully get along with people, been able to progress and do other kinds of things. And as a mayor, I think that's one of the things that I can really bring to this position of mayor. That is to bring people together and to not to have people go back in their corners. This thing that we've got right now where people are fighting at our town council meetings and where they're fighting on the internet and social media and what have you, this is really no good. I won't bring any negativity to that. I most certainly believe in working with anybody who can help Vernon Township.
Thank you. Dan, how do you feel about that?
Same. It's important to work together. Government agencies should work together, not against each other, because then we don't succeed. We have to work together to get things done. You can't just do it alone. It doesn't work. We have a county government, we have our local government, our state, whatever we got to do to make Vernon a better place. If we can work with those agencies together for the common cause of our town, that's the way to go. That's what they're there for. We help each other. We get things done. We get things improved. It's important that we do that with our county and our state and everything else. That's what we have to do. We can't just do it with us. Sometimes we need a little help, and we have to get that help. So yes, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Dan, this is a question, another one from the Vernon Tax Association, and it's regarding taxes. Municipal taxes have increased significantly over the last 4 years, giving us a nearly 18% increase in that time period. What will you do to hold back future large tax increases?
Yeah, I got my tax bill. It was, yes, we have to maintain this tax base. We cannot. We have a lot of retired people that live here that are on fixed incomes, okay? Raising taxes at the alarming rate that it's been raised is not a good thing. We need to get rateables in here. We need to work and get businesses in here, in this town, to offset that. If we don't, we're going to be in trouble. The tax rate, it went through the roof, I felt. Even with I did a tax appeal. I mean, it was crazy. But the town was left, I guess, with no choice, but I think there's choices. In my eyes, it should never been that high. Ratables are the key. Business is the key. And that's what we have to look, and we have to do that in order to offset those taxes from going sky high. And we're a resort community, and we got to focus on that. And people come in, and that's what we do.
Okay, Howard?
The tax situation is really going to be quite challenging for us. As I said, we've lost 1,400 residents. That has had a really negative impact on our school. Our schools have been told, as I understand, that they're going to be losing $10 million in the next 8 years. That's going to be part of the tax bill, although it's not a part of the municipal tax bill. The only way, everything goes up. That includes the cost of operating the government. And the only way that we're going to be able to get control of our tax situation is by having ratables, having someone else to come in and help us pay some of the tax bill. That's why the whole business situation is really so critical. That starts with looking at the sewers, and that also means, too, that we've got to be more friendly in our town office. In the town office, we've got to make sure that people know that they're welcome here. We need to look at everything in every detail, but let people know that Vernon is open for business. That's the only way we're going to be able to maintain and stabilize our taxes in this county, in this town. Excuse me.
Okay, and just to follow up on that same question, what specific things would you do? And we'll ask Dan first. What specific things would you do to promote economic growth and increase commercial ratables?
We'll get as many ratables as we can to make the town government a little more friendlier. I've talked to contractors and businessmen throughout the county, and the first thing they tell me, Dan, it's funny, I go to your town, it's always a hassle. I go anywhere else, I do a job, I get an inspection that day or the day after. I don't know why we're not the same way. It's annoying. And, that we have to start with friendly government, helping the people. People want to come here. We got to let them come here. You can't tell them they're not going to get an inspection 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road. You can't do that. If they're willing to do something that they have to do by the rule of law and they do it, you got to work with them. Okay? We have to work more closely with our residents and people that want to come in and do business. That's the way we stop the taxes from going sky high and help people out that want to improve on a home and so forth.
It was a following up, just asking about how you feel about what to do.
What kind of things would we actually do?
Specific things.
Well, first of all, we have an Economic Development Advisory Committee. And I would work close with that advisory committee and appoint people to that advisory committee to let them know that we need a plan to market our town. We need to do that aggressively, and we need to do that on a positive basis. The other component to that is how we deal with people when they come into our town hall. Whether it's true or not, that there are too many people who believe that when they come into the Vernon Town Hall, they don't get the kind of support that they need. I was talking to a resident who told me that he needed some work done, septic work done. He got a quotation from an individual. He had a Sussex address. He went to the town of Sussex to get the permits, and they told him this person lived in Vernon Township. And without even going to the town, he went back to the individual and said it's going to be $2,000 more. And he said, why? He said, because it's Vernon Township. Why is there a penalty for living in our town? I don't think that should be. And the mayor actually manages the people in the town, so I can have some kind of direct impact on that.
Okay. All right, here's a question for you, Howard. Why do you think Vernon Township is lagging in economic development compared to Sparta and Warwick, and what is your plan for Vernon's economic future?
Well, the reason that we are lagging is that we have an image of being a town that's not friendly, that's not actually friendly to business, and we need to change that first of all. The other thing is that I think that the completion of the town sewers is just critical to everything that we do. Those are two key things there. So we need to focus really on that. I have already contacted the person who's the chair of our MUA, asking for a meeting to get my hands around that. But you need to work with the people in our Economic Development Advisory Committee, and we need to make sure that we are open to people when they come here to look to able to relocate in the town.
Okay, Dan, how do you feel about that?
The issue is water. Let's face it. It's been like that for how many years I lived here? We have a sewer. They made a deal with the devil. And guess what? We're still in this whole debacle of how can we hook up to a sewer? And it's frustrating. It shouldn't be that difficult and that expensive. If I want a business and we went into a business, it takes me $30,000 to hook up and then umpteen grand a month. It doesn't work, folks. We got to look at this in another way. You got to get, again, investors, and you got to get, people to come in. But the first thing they say, Dan, that sewer is incredibly out of our reach. And that's what I hear. And, that's something we have to look into to see if we can right that wrong and start with that. And we'll get the ball rolling and getting business to come in here instead of shying away going to Sparta, which if you look at Sparta right now and you look at all the other towns around, look what's going on. That's all I got to say. You just look. So it's the water issue.
Okay, thank you. This next question is a little different. And Dan, to you. After marriages mysteriously stopped at Town Hall when same-sex marriage was legalized, the current mayor began performing marriages again. Will you continue to perform marriages in Town Hall?
Why not? I mean, who am I? I'm not married, but, of course I would continue doing that. That's hands down. No matter if it's same-sex marriages or regular, it doesn't matter to me. Of course we would do that.
Howard?
Yes, as long as it's legal for the mayor to perform marriages, I would be honored to perform marriages. I don't know why you wouldn't not. I don't think there's any expense to the town. So why not?
Okay, thank you. All right, Howard, what are your thoughts on the scenic byway plan? And would you support changing the route to include township roads? Why or why not?
The scenic bypass?
Byway.
Scenic byway. I'm aware that there's a scenic byway committee here, and I was actually going to go to one of their meetings to learn more about that. But if the scenic byway is something that will bring more people to our town or through our town as a way of giving our merchants an opportunity to sell their wares and what have you, I would be in favor of that. I'm not specifically familiar with what all the scenic byway entails, but it sounds like a good thing to me.
How about you, Dan?
Along with that, of course, anything that would bring people in, a trail system is idea. That in back of businesses and stuff like that, that's also another plus. I got to learn more about the scenic byway, to be honest with you. I need to sit down and see what it's about. But it can't be a negative thing. I mean, scenic byway, just the way it sounds. I'm for it going through the town roads and everything else. We have a lot to offer, but there's many different components of it. And I like to tie it all together. If it brings people in, and it brings people into our town, and they spend the money, then of course, who wouldn't be for it? It's important that we do these type of things. It's a win-win. The trail system also is a win-win. We need to get that, incorporate it, come down to a table, sit and talk about it, and see what we can do to get it going.
Thank you. Okay, Dan, what are your plans to better utilize all the existing storefronts that are empty? Looking at a town like Warwick that has a thriving Main Street, how can that be created here?
Well, we got a lot of work, and I'm not going to sit here and candy coat it. Warwick was an established town because of the rail system years ago. Again, I'm going to mention it's about water and getting water to these places. That's our biggest problem right now. If we would get that worked out somehow, that it's affordable for these people to come and do business with us, we'd win. But for some reason, it's this big pimple on our backs that we can't seem to agree on or disagree on. We need the water in order for that to happen. And I'm all for it, getting these businesses in. If we get that straight, the rest will flow.
Howard?
Well, when you're talking about the storefronts, the mayor obviously is not going to go out and open up a storefront, him or herself. I think that the thing that we can do is to change the attitude. That's where it's got to start, with changing the attitude. And then, maybe, as they say, if you build it, they will come. If you change the attitude, maybe they will come. And then make it as convenient as possible within the rules for people to open up and develop and to be able to survive here.
Okay. Okay, Howard, according to this attendee, on April 4th of this year, Vernon was awarded $223,000 to repave Poaching Road? Okay. So far, no work has been done. What do you think is holding this up for 6 months?
Well, I would have no idea, because I'm not on the inside of the government. You might remember I said that no matter how much you analyze things from the outside, there are things that are unknown to you and that are unknowable, and that things that you become aware of when you once you're able to get in. I do think that we've got a good road department, though. I think that they work hard, and I'm sure that it probably has something to do with priorities. I'm not so sure why, if we have the money, why we don't fix it. That's an excellent question, and that's a question that I'll ask immediately, and the next time someone asks me that, maybe I'll have an answer. But the answer will be one that will come from our town government.
Okay. Dan?
I don't know why that's on a holdup, but I will tell you this. Our road department right now, I think it's in dire stress. They're down a crew. I worked in that road department. I was a truck driver. I worked in there for a year and a half. I think Tim Coppinger was the town manager back then. And we had more people then. And we did our own paving. We paved our own roads, and everything got done. As we progressed, I think we got worse. No fault of the road department, but I talked to those guys, and I'm telling you, they're down a crew, and it's difficult. You're trying to cover a town as large as ours with the amount of people they got. You can't do it. You just can't do it. They got some equipment laying up on the hill. It's like brand new that they can't use. It's broke down. I don't get it. And I have to find that out and get more into the meat and potatoes of why this has happened.
Okay, so here's a question that brings national issues into hometown issues. And it actually says, pick me on the card. So I'm picking you. With a growing sense of isolation on the national stage and several anti-hate resolutions around the state and even in Vernon, how will you bring unity and pride back to Vernon?
That's an easy one. Everybody should get along. I don't care about your sexual orientation or what you do. We have to let government, hear these people and, try to work through things. I'm all for equality on every level. Shouldn't judge anybody for who they are, what they are. This is the year 2019. We should be beyond that and work together. Being different and everything else, you add a lot to other people. You learn from other people. Nobody should judge anybody, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's very important that we promote town government, help promote those things like hate speech and stuff like that, and make sure that doesn't happen in our town. I don't want a town like that. I don't want a town of hate. We're beyond that, and I think we have the power to change that as a government. and then with our residents.
Okay. How do you feel about it?
Is your question specifically related to sexual orientation or something?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's about the feeling of isolation. So it's with a growing sense of isolation on the national stage and several anti-hate resolutions around the state and even in Vernon. How will you bring unity back and pride as well back to Vernon?
Well, I think first of all you have to start with yourself, and you have to set an example of how you treat people, how you live. That's something that I do now, and I hope it's obvious to people who are seeing me as a candidate for mayor. We're living in very divisive times. In fact, there's a recent poll where 77% of the Americans said that we are seriously divided. And historians said that we are divided now as a nation more than we've ever been since the Civil War. And I think some of the lack of civility that's coming from the national level is filtering down here at the town level. I think another thing that has helped perpetuate this problem is the way people use social media. I'm not against social media. There are a lot of good things about it, but the way people use that, people sit behind their computers and they say awful and hateful things they wouldn't say to people in their face. So what can I do as an individual? I can live my life in a way to set an example, and I'll try to do that.
Thank you. Okay, so there are several questions here from a lot of you about, development, building new things. So this one is kind of representative of those questions. And we'll start with Howard. Do you feel it would be more important to build or develop new residential, commercial properties in the town center area, or to rehab and fill the existing vacant buildings throughout town?
I think we should do both. If, in fact, we can get people to rehab and fill the vacant buildings, that'll be good, because the vacant buildings are coming unsightly. But I do think that a key component to economic development in this town is to get the water in the sewers. We're going to have to develop that. That's not going to necessarily be easy, because there are going to be people like me who live up in Glenwood, and I've got my own septic tank. And people are going to say, why should I spend money to help develop a business downtown? Well, the reason would be sure is that those kind of things that happen in our town center affects us all. But development of the town center is just a key component. I really think that without that, we're going to stay stagnant in terms of what we are.
Dan, what do you think?
I have to agree with Howard on this. Both existing buildings, both non-existing. I mean, we need to, again, promote the town center. It's very important. And I said it time and time again, water. Here we go again with the water. But it's essential, and we got to make it affordable. We have to work and get developers in. We have to look at things and how we can get this rolling. The geographics are there. We got it. It's all there. You can see it. It's all there. It's all laid out. But again, it's sewer and the water. That's the biggest thing right now. That's the key, is the water. And you ask anybody on the council now, they'll tell you the same thing. How do we do it? We got to work that out. And then from there, we can thrive. But we need to get ratables. And the way to get that is fixing this water solution that we got. We have a problem. We got to do something about it. If we wait the way we are, we're going to die.
Okay, so do you have any kind of plans on how you would get them to come? I mean, how to bring them in?
Call the business people in, sit down, share ideas, bounce off of one another what we can do. Try to get investors. It's the most important thing. You need the money too. Get investors. See what we can do to help them build, help them, put a business in, instead of saying, no, we need to do that. We need to sit down with investors, open a forum up with them, and invite them into the town and see what they got to offer us, and see what we can do and what we can offer them. And together we can come to a common ground to make it happen.
I think the key to this is working with the economic development Advisory Committee. We've got the committee. We need to work through them. Simply because you're elected to a position as mayor on a council, it doesn't mean that you know everything about how to bring businesses into the town. The people who should be on the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and the ones that I would appoint, would be ones who understand that. And we've got some pretty bright people in this town. We really do. They just need to know that once they put forth this effort, that they've got a town government that's going to support them. They need to know that when they attract people to the town, that when people come into the town office, they're going to be welcomed, they're going to be scrutinized, but they're going to be treated in a way that says we really want them. We've got to really say Vernon is open for business, not open for exploitation, but that we're open for business. And so that's what we've got to do. And as the mayor who manages the people in the town hall, I wouldn't go in as a bully, but I really want people to know that we need to have a different attitude in terms of how we treat people and how we deal with them.
Okay. All right. So now we'll get back to the grass land, or whatever you want to call it. But do you think making, and this is for you, Howard, do you think making new trails is a good use of township resources, considering all the financial obstacles we are facing, also coupled with the abundance of hiking trails in our town?
I don't think that making new trails is the first thing that we ought to tackle, quite frankly. We've got the Appalachian Trail, and if you pass that area, you'll see all kinds of people there. We've got plenty of places to walk. My wife walks 7 miles every day. She starts at the beautiful Maple Grain Park, and then she goes on the Appalachian Trail. We need to focus on economic development in this town. And I'm not really so sure that having a trail is going to fill some of those empty stores or going to start economic development. That would be something I would be open to, but it most certainly would not be the top thing on my list.
Okay. Dan?
See? I'm all for anything that can bring people into this town and get it back on its feet again. I don't see a harm in doing a trail system whatsoever, plus with what we already have with the Appalachian Trail and hooking it all together. I think it's a necessity. I think once you have more people come in, they're going to spend their dollar. And I'm all for the trails. Okay, I'm all for it. I got to tell you, it's not, in my eyes, a negative thing to bring people in any way we can. And I think it's a great idea. People hike. A lot of people hike. I was on that, around the trails doing my video, and I met a lot of decent people. I mean, a lot of people come around. So I think it just makes them spread out in our town to see what else and what other areas there are. So, yeah, I'm all for the trails, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't disagree with Danny. I'm all for the trails, but that shouldn't be the focus of our government at this point. We've got a lot of other fish to fry. Economic development is the key thing.
Okay. Dan, what's your plan to address the lack of productivity at the current township committees, Some are doing a great job, but there are several that have not held meetings in a while. And do you want to cull some of these? Or what do you plan on doing about that?
Well, we need to get everybody back in line again. And if you're on these committees, you've got a job to do. That's part of why we go stagnant, because things like that. If you're on a committee, you need to stick to your guns and have these meetings and get things done. Or don't bother, as far as I'm concerned, because it's not benefiting any one of us in here. If we're not going to do the job, then don't do it. Get somebody on there that's going to do the job. And get everybody to file, into their schedule. That's what you have to do. This is the way it is. This is the only way we make the town grow. We have a commitment. We stick to our commitments, okay? And we stick to them, and we get the job done. And we move things along instead of tabling everything and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. It's not necessary. So if you're on the committees, yeah, I would definitely take a hard look at that and, get them to produce.
Howard?
I'm not necessarily aware that there's any particular committee that's not functioning properly. That might be the case. If that is the case, I'm not so sure why the current mayor and council hadn't dealt with them, really. I see a lot of negativity coming from our current town government. council and the mayor form. Not singling out any one particular individual, but when people disagree at the town council meetings, people seem to take it personally, as if someone insulted them. You know, one of the things that I've learned is that in a democracy, disagreements really are part of the whole process. And not only do people fight at these meetings, but they carry it on the social media things. And, you know, and so if this is what people, if that's what me, a citizen, see coming from the town council, what do you think that the people on the committees see? You know, no wonder they perhaps are not affected. We need a positive approach. I'll be prepared to go to all of the meetings, sit down and talk to people. Thank you.
Okay. So to follow up on that a little bit, Howard, in what measurable way do you plan to bring this community together?
Well, I plan to start by simply being myself. I'm only in this race because I had several people of a cross-section of different kinds of people to ask me to run for mayor. And I don't think that they asked me to run for mayor because they think that I'm some brilliant financial genius. I have served on all kinds of boards and committees, and there's never been a board and committee that I've served on where I was not a positive force. I'm idealistic enough to believe that I can be a positive force in bringing this town together. It'll be me. You know, there's a song that says, let there be peace and let it begin with me. Well, let there be dignity. Let there be respect, and let it begin with me.
Dan?
It always starts with the individual that's the leader, and it trickles on down. To get community together, you're asking, you got to do more community-based things, you know, like we used to do years ago. You know, we have a rec, we have everything in place to do many things to get people back involved in their town. So, yeah, it would start with me and on down. And you look for things to do, and you think outside the box. You know, you get people involved. You got your Vernon Day. You got your, you know, all these kind of things that we can do. Farmers market. I mean, it's a plus. You get people involved, and you know that's the key. When people go in and out of their town and do things within their town, it's important to get everything back together again.
Okay. So, Dan, and I think we're getting close to the time when we're going to have to give our closing statement. So I think this might be the last question. With the issues faced by our township, meaning the environmental issues, the stagnant economy, decreasing population, a coordinated effort is necessary if positive changes are to be made. How will you work with local and state representatives to better the situation for our residents and our businesses?
Again, working together with all types of government is important. County level, state level, identifying what our problems are and attacking them and fixing them together. Getting people together, different facets of government, bringing it to the table. Agreeing to disagree on issues is important. We're not going to agree on everything, but we need to get people together and on one track. We all love this town. That's why we're all sitting in this room. And we want to make it a better place. We came here for that reason. So it's important that we work together with the levels of government as a whole.
And just to follow up on that, and you'll get the same opportunity, what will be your priority issue that you will work on as soon as you take office?
My priority issue is about infrastructure. The main thing of infrastructure, with me, it's our services, our police agency, our road department, our roads, the very basis of what we need to take care of first. I look around the town, these roads are falling apart, and even in my community where I live, it's a disaster. I'm going to tell you right now. We need to get our services up to par. Our town services need help. They're not up to par. And from what I see and talking to different agencies in the town, they're hurting. And I see it. And they need a little help. We've got to start with that. We've got to start with the very basics of our services, police, our fire, our ambulance, our road department. We must make sure they have the tools that they need to do the job and the manpower, first and foremost.
Thank you. Howard, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah.
With the issues faced by our township, for example, environmental issues, stagnant economy, decreasing population, a coordinated effort is necessary if positive changes are to be made. How will you work with local and state representatives to better the situation for our residents and businesses?
Well, first of all, I don't really think that I'll have any difficulty working with our local or state officials. I have a good relationship with our current senator and our assembly people. I have contacts and good relationships at the state level. So whatever I need to do, I feel pretty sure that I can do that. I don't anticipate any problems in that regard. The other aspect was what now?
Yeah, just the follow-up. It was,
Yeah.
What will your priority issue that you'll work on? What will it be as soon as you take office?
I have two priority issues. Number one, we've got to change the tone of our government. People have got to see a difference, because I think that we've got issues that we've got to face that's going to require the mayor to sell a lot of things to individuals to get their support. For example, Dan and I both agree, and everybody agrees that we're going to need to be able to do something about water and sewers. You've got to be able to sell that to people. And so essentially what you got to build a credibility from that standpoint. And the second thing would be economic development. So changing the tone and the attitude of our government and economic development are the two things, the primary things I'll focus on. But we need to walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. There are other things that we really need to do, and we can do all of those too. But those are the two primary ones I would focus on.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. And now we're going to have our closing statements from the mayoral candidates. And Howard, you drew the lot to go first, so you may speak now.
My wife and I have lived in this town for 39 years. This town has been very, very good to me. It has educated my 3 kids. It has given my wife an opportunity to practice her craft as a teacher. The town has elected me as a member of their Board of Education, served as the board's president. They've elected me in a couple of times on the council. I've served as deputy mayor, police commissioner. And when I ran for Sussex County Freeholder, I was fortunate enough to win every voting district in this town. So this town has been good to me, been very, very good to me. So now when I'm asked to step up and do what I can to help the town, I'm prepared to do so. My wife and I are both Southerners, and we're retired. But unlike a lot of other people who plan to retire and move down south, we're not going to move anywhere. We're going to be right here. I was on the committee that helped bring the cemetery, the veteran cemetery, to the town. And as I tell people, we bought 2 plots out there, so we're going to be here forever. Whatever happens to this town happens to me. We own 2 properties here. We own a property in Glenwood, and we own a condominium. So whatever happens to this town happens to us too. I believe in this town. I think this town on the verge of something good, and we're at a crossroads. And the direction in which we go is going to determine what we do here. I'm not asking you to elect me as another political mayor. There's a verse in a book that I use as a guide for my life that says, without a vision, the people perish. For years, we have not had a vision here. We've not had a vision. We need to coordinate with the people, and we need to make sure we know what our vision is. And we need to lead, because we've been actually perishing. And I'll tell you, if you elect me as your mayor, I promise you that I'll be a person that you can be proud of, and I will work as hard as I possibly can to make sure that we move Vernon forward.
Thank you very much. Dan?
I came here years ago. My father and mother were here way before that. I've been here for 45 years. I grew up here, had my friends here, went to this high school. I went through the school system. I have a lot of history here. I served in law enforcement in this community and with the sheriff's office. I believe in this town. I believe it's been, like I said before, stagnant. I'm tired of seeing it that way, and I think it's time we make a change. And I'm the guy to do it. I've been here a long time. My family's been here a long time. My relatives have been here a long time. We've seen what it could be when it was growing and we were booming and everything else was happening. We saw that all, and the developments that were going in. We got to get it back. I believe I'm the guy to do it. I'll work tirelessly until I get it done. I have a vested interest in this town. I have a home. My parents have a home. My relatives here all live here. I want to see it succeed. I don't want to see it fail. And that's government and people together. Not just government. It takes the people also. And working with all levels of government, like Sussex County and the state government also, make this place a better place to live. And we do. It's a beautiful place to live. I got out of New York. My father got me out of there. And because, why? The neighborhood went bad. And then he traveled for 40-something years, back and forth from Vernon to Brooklyn, every night, every day, in the waterfront, where he was a longshoreman, just to get us to have a better life. And you know what? He was right. And we got up here, and I thrived up here. So that's what I'm going to do. I have a vested interest, and I'm going to work for you. And I love this town. I love the people in it. I love the sense of community that we have. It's important. I love that we still know one another here. That's one of the rarest things, you know. We still know each other here, and I like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you both very much. And I'd like to thank the council candidates for their patience and understanding in this situation. And we drew the lots at the beginning, and Margaret, you are going to give your closing statement first.
Thank you. I've lived, as I've said before, I've lived here for 33 years, and I love this town. I wanted to give you a little history on my background as to why I feel I'm qualified to sit on the council. I've worked for 40 years in the financial marketplace. I've been a bank manager. I have worked training people. I have managed investment portfolios for clients. I have been in business development. I have trained new employees. So I have a very diverse business career. I believe that all of those chores that I did over the years will help me to be able to work on the council in a productive fashion. I am a team worker. I proved that by working for 12 years with the DEP and the EPA, and eventually with Vernon when they became on the Silver Spruce situation. I persevered for those years. I found ways to get to the people that we needed to help us. I investigated, I called, I did everything that I possibly could, including to testify in front of the Senate. I'm still working with the Senate and will be going down in November to testify in front of the Assembly to get the law passed to prevent the environmental pollution from ever happening again. I worked to protect my family originally. It turned out to protect my neighborhood and my town eventually. And now I'm asking you to please vote for me so that I can work for your families and protect your family as well. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Scott.
Good evening. I'm not a politician. I'm an independent person. I'm not aligned with anybody or any party. I'm really an insurance geek. Career-wise, I work for a large national insurance broker, and I hold licenses in 26 states. I have numerous professional designations, yada, yada, yada. But I work in insurance and claims and act as a risk manager for our clients, many of which, my specialty is in public entity work, which means I work with counties, cities, towns, and such, as well as large public schools and so on. But in order to do that, you have to be familiar with local applicable laws, state laws, ordinance, union contracts, and such. So although I'd never held public office before, I've always had a keen interest in and followed politics ever since I've been young. These gentlemen brought up some good issues in town here that I agree with a lot of the things that need to be done. To that point, it was interesting. Monday morning, I'm at work, and a coworker of mine comes to me and says, "Hey, I was up in your neck of the woods this weekend." He lives in Stanhope. Him and his kids went up, picked up a friend from Sparta. They drove up. They wanted to go up the Stairway to Heaven, a trail, and they loved it. And he was raving about it and such. But it was funny because when I asked him what he did when he was up here, he did nothing. He didn't stop in Vernon. He didn't eat here. He didn't go anywhere. So the point is, while I agree with the trail development and such, I think it's very important that we develop business in town to capitalize on it. These people may be coming to town to enjoy our trails and such, but we don't have businesses there for them to go so we can capitalize on those things. Running out of time here. So with that, some of the other things, I think the town needs a long-term budget plan. And I want to be on the, oops, I'm stopped. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Let's give everybody a nice round of applause. Thank you. And I hope each and every one of you will come out and vote November 5th. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And thank you so much for coming out. It means so much. Thank you.